Hey everybody, thank you for being here. Today's review is from the house of Hermes. This is a flanker to an Hermes classic, the original Hermes Equipage released in 1970, of which I have never smelled. I've never smelled it, but my review today is of its flanker. This one here is called Equipage Geranium. Okay, now a couple of things. I never set out to try this fragrance or ultimately not to buy it. A friend of mine sent me a sample of this particular scent with a few other samples as a gift, and I sprayed this on, and this was one of those times where you wear a scent and I was basically almost stunned by just how good it smelled on me. It wasn't like I was thinking, wow, I've never smelled anything like this. This is so original, so unique. The fact is, I sprayed it onto my skin and I just immediately was taken by it. Up until then, I didn't, or at least I thought I didn't like the note of geranium. And a couple of things. If you are a fan of geranium as a note in perfumery, then this is definitely worth trying. If you're not a fan of the note of geranium, then this is definitely worth at least sniffing. I'm going to get right into it. This was released in 2015, so a long time between the original release and this flanker, and composed by Jean-Claude Ellena when he was at Hermes. I'm just going to spray it on. If you look at the note pyramid of this, the official note pyramid, there are three things listed: spice, geranium, and sandalwood. Now, the spices are undisclosed spices, but what I can smell in the opening, certainly I can pick up clove is there, and I think there might even be some nutmeg and cinnamon that I can smell there. So it gives the geranium, which is there from go to wow. I mean, the geranium is, make no mistake, the dominant accord of this fragrance. Those spices give it a little bit of warmth and sweetness, and sort of basically mute that mintiness and sharpness that geranium can sometimes have. The geranium in here is, for me, I imagine smelling the whole plant, the green stem, the leaves, and the actual flower petals here. I've smelled, greener geraniums, which are the ones that I don't tend to like that much, but this one here is like just on point in terms of how it's balanced and blended with other ingredients here. And look, to be honest, I can't actually smell too many other notes other than those for the duration of the fragrance. And I just want to touch on something. When it starts to develop, all of a sudden, one of my first thoughts that I noted down was it has this soapy quality. Okay, now every time I hear or read the word soapy when it's describing a perfume, the first thing that comes to mind is witch soap, because I think soapy is obviously a very subjective term for the person describing the perfume. In this case, I know exactly which soap this reminded me of, because it's a soap that was in my house all through my childhood years, and for some reason it seemed like only the adults used this particular soap, and us kids would use the kids soap for some reason. But it's this one here by Cussons, Imperial leather. It's still available to buy here in Australia. I see it in the stores, but I have not actually used it for a long time. But when I smelled this fragrance, when I was testing it for this review, this soapy quality came through, and of course that soapy quality was because this scent smells a little bit like this soap, or vice versa, but the soap has been out longer than this scent has. And so as the scent develops, I've got the dry down here, but as it develops, you kind of get this feeling that you're entering. It's a very minimalist scent, in that there really isn't a lot going on, but what is going on is always present. You feel like you're in a. I'll tell you what it reminded me of. In the heart of this fragrance, it's like that first warm spring afternoon walking outside, and you literally walk past. You know, here it's pretty common. There are houses that have geranium plants growing in their front garden, and I just got that feeling. It is such an uplifting, warm, happy fragrance. Like, if I had to assign a season to it, spring is the only season that comes to mind, although I wear this all year round. You're in a lovely floral green bubble, and then when it dries down, you don't really get to a base. It's almost like this geranium, this beautiful geranium, eventually just fades away and lands on, you know, a little stick of sandalwood. And I'm not talking, like, here the base is not a heavy bed of creamy woods. Here we have like some twigs of salty sandalwood. It's almost, I wouldn't even describe it. It's probably almost more buttery than milky or creamy woods. It's more than likely, it smells more like Australian sandalwood, but here it's used so minimally that it's barely detectable, yet you can tell that it's adding a little bit of depth, and probably helps with the longevity of this fragrance, which for me, I get, you know, like, I can smell this easily up to 8 hours, which is, I think, for me, fantastic on my skin. I can't really say much more other than I always enjoy wearing this, and I'm never not in the mood to wear this fragrance, and I always feel happy, and it puts a smile on my face whenever I do. So that is my review of Hermes Equipage Geranium. I think they're still very, you know, it's pretty reasonably priced. It's a 100ml bottle. But I had to buy this in Italy because here in Australia, this line is not stocked in any department stores, and, you know, like stuff like Rockaba, Bellamy Vedova, the original Equipage. So I bought this in Italy, and it'll always remind me of the city of Turin because that's where I bought it. But I'm so glad I have a big bottle of this now. I hope you enjoyed that review. I will see you all later. Bye for now.